wanted to grab it the first time around. Having that breathing room can do a lot for these guys.
Yeah, it certainly can. And that's kind of one of the cool things I really do like about the new pick ban system is that some teams just have to be played differently against in the pick ban. You can't draft the same way every single time against all these different teams. We've seen teams target people like Impact, right? Trying to ban him down to like 6th top laner, and he still ends up being just as effective as his opponent. So you really have to take that into consideration more than just the position. It's about the player.
And speaking of adaptations, when you're on the blue side, you're normally a little bit more free to ban what you want to ban as opposed to the OPs, the Camille and the Rengar and things like that. And Team Envy are going to be starting off by removing both jungler and top laner played by their opponents last time around.
And I think that it's kind of interesting to see that Lyra does not want the Kha'Zix first. They don't want the Maokai first. These are champions they're not really willing to play. Seraph, stylistically, obviously is more of a carry player. He prefers playing those more aggressive roles and those more aggressive champions, so he won't be willing to pick the Maokai. And they know that Zig will first pick it. Like, he'll first round if they leave it up. So they can't leave that up. They can't leave the Kha'Zix up. They can't leave the Varus up. So they're kind of pigeonholing themselves a little bit with that. Very interesting to see the Zyra first pick. We've been seeing that kind of fall down in priority over the course of the games in the NA/LCS. At the very start, people were first picking it a lot, but in general, kind of feels like people are just saying, hey, you can just deal with it. You can play things like the MF into it, and it's going to be fine.
And we almost always see that MF come out whenever Zyra shows up as well. Generally, the only times you're seeing that shine against its laning matchup is when MF is somehow taken off the table by a little bit of an outplay in the picking and banning phase itself, right? So maybe this will work out for Team Envy. Maybe it will not. Phoenix1 deciding they're going to go ahead and lock in one of those utility AD carries that are so popular right now. Ashe going to be the first pick for them, and Nori going to go ahead and grab that Rek'Sai second.
Yeah, I really think this is just trying to target Lyra, right? He showed that is what he wanted to pick first. He banned away the Kha'Zix. So Nori is just going to say, well, I'll just take away what I think you want to play. And Lyra is going to have to show us something different. He's going to have to show us what he's willing to take. Is it going to be something like a Lee Sin? There's still very high priority champions, but if you don't play them, you don't play them, and you can get knocked down in the champion pool pretty fast.
And sure enough, Envy's going to go ahead and lock in the remaining utility AD carry for themselves, not willing to be marginalized out of that position. They're going to make sure that they don't end up having to pick a tier lower. They grab the Jhin, so Jhin Zyra in the bottom lane. Going to be looking to do whatever they can, of course, with that long-range potential that Jhin has, the curtain calls, the deadly flourishes, and there's the Lee Sin you were talking about that's picked up for Lyra.
And it makes a lot of sense seeing that Lee Sin, very high priority pick. I think that you do kind of get a nice little matchup as far as jungler versus jungler when you do have the Rek'Sai into Lee Sin, because you can actually interrupt the Q damage when Lee Sin takes that Q with your Unburrow just by simply right-clicking on the Lee Sin, and when he takes it, you automatically Unburrow and knock him up. So it's pretty nice, easy interaction to use there. Rai is going to be taken from Ryu. He has done very well in this champion, showing some really nice early rotations even when he's been playing it, kind of moving around the map. And because there's no mid laner taken in the first round, they could target some of the counter picks of Rai. So Cassiopeia, you could take him off the page. You could even do something like Orianna if you're all worried about that. There are some options. They could ban away Corki. Just basically whatever Ryu doesn't want to deal with, he's going to get the best possible matchup for himself.
In the meantime, though, what we were talking about a little bit earlier, picking Zyra and banning away Misfortune, that dream is real for Team Envy. They take Misfortune out. They're going to be removing Nami from the pool as well. So actually 3 of the champions that we saw played by P1 last time, not going to be played this time around, as the 2 bans are both mid lane picks, as it's Syndra and Cassiopeia out of there from Phoenix1.
Karma is very strong, though, and it's something Adrian is super comfortable playing. So while they will have a lane advantage, I do think, I really do feel like Zyra has that edge. It's not going to be massive, and Zyra, if you get caught by too many Karma Qs, you can kind of start falling prey to that lane pretty quickly too. So we'll have to find out what Envy is going to actually pick for their mid laner, and that is where I think it's easier to start establishing an opinion on who has done better in this draft. Oh, and it's going to be the Kennen for Seraph. We talked about it last game. I think we're finally going to get to see it, but Zig hasn't even chosen his top laner yet, so he could potentially get some sort of a counter pick.
Go for something that could fare well against that. And like you mentioned, before game number 1, a lot of the tendencies these days are for more of that battle Kennen, the on-hit one, the attack speed, as opposed to the traditional AP burst style.
And it works so well into things like the Maokai, like the Nautilus. That's traditionally where it has been picked. You can do super greedy starts. You can go Cull first if you want, into Wit's End, and that works so well. You're kind of taking away the magic resist while dealing extra damage to them. But something like the Jace, I think, is a lot harder for that on-hit Kennen to really deal with, because Jace trades super effectively and bursts very, very hard. If you try to get into these extended trades, can be tough. So it may make Seraph pivot and go for a more standard kind of like AP Kennen, but that has just been straight up nerfed since the past when you'd seen that a lot. The ultimate basically doesn't target the same players as much. I believe that's how it works.
Backloaded instead of front-loaded.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So it's basically just dealing less damage up front. You can't kind of have the spectacular Smeb ultimates where you just one-shot the whole team.
Yeah, you kind of got to wait a couple of seconds for the actual one-shot potential to come in. For those of you who weren't familiar with exactly what those patch notes did to Kennen, used to the first hit was the strongest, the third hit was really weak. Now the first hit's pretty weak, and it's the third one that actually has all that damage packed into it. So you got to make sure you stay on top of those guys a little bit longer.
You definitely do.
But it's going to be fun seeing no tanks in the top lane this time around.
Yeah.
Normally, we're so used to seeing Maokai's and Nautiluses and things like that on at least one side, right? But this time around, Kennen versus Jace, that is not tankiness.
No, definitely not. And Envy in general has no true tank. Lee Sin is not a true tank, right? Yes, you can build stanky, but you generally always are going to start with Warrior. You see a lot of players go pretty aggressive, things like Warrior and Ma and Black Cleaver even if they're doing well. So it's much more kind of tanky bruiser. Rek'Sai is pretty much a pure tank, so they do still have that going for them. But I'm going to be very excited to see how this top lane goes. And we talked about the fact that Zik is great on the tank picks, but he's not known as really like a carry player, the guy who takes over the game. And if you fall behind on the Jace, it's going to be a lot more difficult to deal with. You can't just kind of be like, oh, okay, well, I'll just go tanky. I'll just kind of support the team. You must deal damage. That is the whole point of the champion.
And that nature of that top lane matchup obviously does favor Seraph, the guy that we've talked about time and time again, being the carry from the top lane, being the guy who always puts up better numbers than his opponents, the guy who will put the game on his back.
And P1 is going straight to the bot lane. They're going to do a stack here. What they're trying to do is, Zyra loves to come over and kind of spawn some seeds here, stack her plants up. They're going to see if she can actually try to come up and trade it all with Adrian. If she does, they might be able to get a little bit of cheese, but it's not going to happen, I don't think. Yep.
Nope. Hakuo takes a whiff, smells something funny, not going to be walking anywhere near that one. He'll eat the inner flame, but that's not nearly as bad as face-checking a brush full of 4 people, so he's just fine.
Well, P1 is actually going straight to the red now. They looks like they canceled the recall, so they're going to try to make something happen down here anyway. Or at least get some vision. But sticking around this long is pretty surprising. Definitely not something you see all the time. Gonna have to find out if Lyra actually gets a read on this and does go up to try to start his opponent's red. Otherwise, he might just get 3-buffed.
We are seeing EnVy with a ward start at the enemy red buff, so they likely are moving towards that one. But yeah, this is ever since the end of the lane swap era, we've kind of seen a lot less of this level 1 action because it's not so important to get a read on your opponents because it's pretty much standard what's going to be happening. But
Zig's going to go ward it out.
They're going to be cheeky. Zig deciding to drop the ward in the brush from over the wall. Seraph going to eat the shock blast. Unenchanted, of course, so it doesn't do a whole lot. But at least Phoenix1 now knows what EnVy's up to. They're going to be trading red buff for red buff. Ultimately, no love lost either way. Keystone showing up on the bottom part of your screen there as Lyra and Seraph both going to be working towards that Jace. Zig getting himself back. Totally fine.
Yeah, and he is A-okay, and he's going to be able to pick up some CS. Looks like both players, one CS miss there from Seraph, but not a big deal whatsoever. And a nice answer there from EnVy, being able to kind of get the read that their opponents are starting at their red buff and make it an easy trade. So not really a big edge on either side, but the one thing that's pretty nice for Inori, because they had full tracking on when their opponent's jungler was, he actually was able to stay around and clear those raids. So he got an extra camp from his opponent's side, kind of taking the gold from his pocket and putting it into his own.
Every small advantage adds up eventually. And one thing I also want to point out, in case you guys might not have noticed it earlier, when we were showing those Keystone Masteries, Fervor of Battle was taken on Seraph, so even though he's against the Jace, still looks like he's going to be going for that one-hit cannon.
I'm going to be very excited to see how that matchup does work out. It's not like it's something he should be unfamiliar with. If you play any of this Kennen practicing in solo queue, Jace, more often than not, is what you're going to be playing against. Jace is just so ridiculously common in Challenger solo queue that these guys will be super practiced into the matchup, and we'll find out how well it's going to work. I don't think that he should be able to kind of bully Zig as hard as he would in those tank matchups, but it could go very well for him either way.
Junglers ending up on opposite sides of the map this time around. Top side, Scuttle Crab going to be picked up from Lyra as he decides to pay a visit towards this top lane, see if he might be able to find anything there. As just stops a ward instead, not really going to have any opportunity with Zig up underneath his turret like that, as the bottom side Scuttle Crab also going to be secured by Inori.
We'll see. I mean, if Zig takes too much poke under here, they can look for a dive. At this amount of HP, it's too risky. But if you take a couple cues from Kennen, if you start getting chunked down, that's when you can look to kind of jump in there and execute that Jace. And if he pushes out too forward, they are kind of pinging that the Lee Sin could be up there. You can see danger pings coming out from P1. Very likely Inori saying, hey, he could be up on the top side. You got to watch out.
Zig still a little bit far forward, though. Lyra sees the opportunity, wants to go for it if he can. Coming up, Shock Blast, Acceleration Gate. And Lyra just dashes himself right back to Seraph. Doesn't want to take himself underneath that enemy turret at any cost, as Inori's going to be hanging around too. He'll pick up on exactly where Lyra is and just decide not to go for anything too crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty well played there by Zig. Does escape the gank, holding even in CS. And Inori is looking for a bit of a wraparound. It was kind of consider going right back up the top side, but there's so many Envy wards on the top side of the map. There was actually 4 up there that it's very well covered, and it's really just kind of speak to their game plan. It's get Seraph ahead, right? Put the vision coverage down for him, allow him to track the enemy jungler, and be safe to play very aggressive on the top side.
And you can see, obviously, that a very different plan from what Lyra was doing in game number 1. Game number 1, the power farm strategy, the massive CS count, whereas in here in game number 2, you're already seeing him trying to get involved towards that top laner that spoke so highly of him before the games. That's how they want to carry. They know that they've got Seraph on this role. They know that this is what he's confident in. Deadly Flourish not going to be finding anybody in the bottom lane. It's a nice field goal right between both Phoenix1 bottom laners, as both these lanes are so very effective at like shoving each other in with like a Zyra versus an Ashe and a Karma that neither one's really getting a whole lot of anywhere. They're just met in this eternal deadlock.
Yeah, they're just kind of fighting back and forth and trying to zone each other off of as much CS as possible. That's the edges that they're looking for. Edges in health. And you can see Adrian has used all his pots. That's kind of what they have gotten for themselves. Hawkwo still has all his potions available. And Apollo did the longsword 3-pot start, which is becoming more and more standard on Jhin and Varus. People trying to kind of get to those power spikes, the serrated dirks, the ghost blades a little bit faster. But I mean, if Envy can make P1 hang around for a long time here in this lane, they could take advantage of the fact that Adrian has no potions. But for now, Seraph running right into Inori.
Seraph in trouble, flash for flash. Inori's not going to be finding him just yet, though. Lyra making his way into the fight. Going to be a full-on 2v2. Seraph getting first-blooded. Lyra is going to be number 2. Easy money for Phoenix1. Ninja caught out here on his way to try to save his buddies. Instead, he's going to be punished too. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just let him die and walk away. Ryu almost making it 3.
Yeah, I mean, Seraph, he's running over to Lyra. He gets to Lyra, and they're like, great, we're here. But they didn't think about if they can win the fight. Should you take that fight? No, and now it's a dive on a Ninja.
Another play coming out. Phoenix1, 3 against 0 in terms of kill count. These guys are all over the early game.
That is just a brutal start for Envy. Last game, they threw away their lead when they were starting so far ahead, and now this game already quite a bit down in the early game, and here it is once again. It looks like Seraph is going to get out scot-free, reacts pretty quickly here. Nice flash from him. Inori follows with his flash, wants to keep chasing, and then Lyra just jumps on right in. They get double knockup into the double hammer from Jace. Take out 2 easy kills. This is not even close. They did not want that fight.
And then we all saw Ryu make his way up there. Don't worry, team, I'm coming. And then sets himself up for disaster. Just not where Envy needed to be. You can obviously tell they wanted to work together, but the follow-through was just what needed to be there and what was not, and what now puts Phoenix1 at almost a 1,500 gold lead, just 7.5 minutes into this game. And Envy's got to make sure they stop that right now.
They definitely
get their heads back on straight and focus.
It can be tough, though. The volatility of these carry matchups in the top lane it's pretty extreme, right? Jace going to be quite a bit ahead. Like, look how much extra gold he has on his character right now. He has the full phage plus the double longsword. He's already almost 700 gold in advantage. That's the double longsword advantage right there. And Lyra knows this. He needs to kind of get in there and affect this matchup, because if they're left alone now, just from straight item power, Zig should be able to win this 1v1 pretty hard.
Lyra trying to work his way up into position for a lane gank, but the wave is shoving so hard towards Seraph, he just can't get into the brush in time. So Zig's gonna stay nice and cozy up here. 67 to 59 in terms of the CS count. An advantage in the mid lane and the jungle for these guys as well, albeit ever so slightly. The only place that EnVy's really winning out the farm matchup is bottom.
Yeah. You can see the difference in playstyle, though, between Inori and Lyra. When Lyra was playing that Rek'Sai, he was just kind of power farming, but they're going for the all-in on Zig. Nice knockback.
Very nice disengage. Zig getting himself out with 2 of those marks on, mean he's not going to be stunned, just barely getting away from that fate. And now, with the enemy jungler topside, Inori says, okay, you want to look to make a play up there? We're going to make a play down here. Goes for that Mountain Drake.
Exactly. It's the immediate reaction, goes straight for it. And Inori has not been prioritizing power farming. He's been trying to get involved, getting involved in the ganks, going for the early dragon, trying to get his teammates ahead and look for the lead that way. And so far, so good.
This is going to be no contest. Inori should grab this one for himself very, very easily. Doesn't need any help from the mid laner or the bot lane. Lyra's just hanging around his Krugs, knows he won't get there in time as Ryu decides to go for a little counter jungling of his own, stealing away that Raptor camp. Going to be even less money available for EnVy's jungler.
And this is one thing that I think Ryu does really well. When he does get a lead, he knows how to push it, and he knows how to influence not only the other lanes, but the jungle matchup as well. You know, he's shown on Rise in the past, he's great at pairing up with Inori, invading his opponent's jungle, because they're both stronger. In a 2v2, Lyra and Ninja will not be able to match up very well at this point in the game, so they can look to abuse that. And Inori already setting up for picks, looking for Lyra, spots him on that ward, and we'll see if they're going to make the rotation and try to take him out.
Phoenix1 seeing what they can do in the enemy jungle with this early advantage as Zig looking to make some moves onto Seraph. Finds a nice, very rapid series of blows. Takes Seraph down to under half HP.
Oh,
and accelerated shock blast going to be finding the mark as well. Remember, Seraph has no ulti here to defend if the dive comes out. Zig may be looking to pull this trigger if he can find another big shock blast. Only finds the smaller one. Goes into hammer form, but doesn't have a flash to try to close that distance, so he's going to back himself away. Lyra hanging around again. The man has pretty much bought a tent and set up shop here.
And it hasn't paid off at all. And now it's Inori kind of smelling this out, moving up towards the top side. And even if they try to catch him out, Ryu is roaming with him. This is what I talked about. They're setting up shop in their opponent's jungle. Ryu is always covering Inori, allowing him to make these aggressive moves and these aggressive plays. And, you know, Zig is going for it.
They're going to be kicked backwards, right back into the fight. Seraph going to get himself bursted. It's 1-for-1 so far. Inori having to get out from behind enemy lines. Not quite tanky enough to make that 1v1 happen underneath the enemy turret just yet as bottom side. Going to be a fight potentially breaking out. Apollo going to be stunned up. Stranglethorn's used. Exhaust down onto Arrow. Focus fire coming down. Realm Warp from Ryu into the back line, trying to find the opportunity to pinch onto Apollo. Heel pop, they get out the side way from the curtain call. Deadly Flourish not going to be making its way onto Arrow.
Ninja's coming down as well.
Ninja wants to work his way into this fight, but it's already over by the time he can start to make his way down there. No blood in bottom lane.
Yep, does just decide to turn right back. A lot of trading going back and forth there. Heal for the exhaust. Both AD carry ultimates used. Zyra's ultimate as well. And Ryu tries to make the roam happen. Doesn't work out this time. Still like the proactive play, putting the pressure on the other lanes, making them think about him on this Rise. And almost better than anyone else that I see, he uses the early ultimates. A lot of people, you almost never even see them use the Realm Warp. And people used to not even skill it until the second rank. So this is something where I really do like his play on the Rise, and I love the fact that he's willing to move around the map and try to make these aggressive plays.
Zig continuing to just build and build and build that CS lead for himself. 105 compared to 83 now. He's got the Black Cleaver up and online.
Yep.
Man, he's looking scary.
Yeah, and Inori now just simply going to zone Seraph off there. They can get this turret for free because he was spotted out on the ward. Doesn't matter. The gold's going to go over. Look at all that gold. An extra 400 or so in the pocket of both these two members. Going to be really far ahead. That's a 1,500 gold lead just in the top lane.
Yeah, that plus 388 in big gold numbers above both those guys' heads. Got to feel good. Lyra going to be jumping himself away from the potential catch coming out from Phoenix1. Hawkwoe looking to chase these guys down if he can. Ryu's going to be Shockwave, trying to avoid some danger. Resonating Strike coming through onto Adrian, looking to find the burst. Flash away. One more hit. Thunderlords plus Dragon's Rage, but it's going to be Seraph who's caught out now. Goes over the wall, but Inori's going to be following. One more auto attack. Prey Seeker's got it. as Inori makes it a 1-for-1 across the map. You take my support, I'm going to be taking your top laner, and we're hitting up the tier 2.
This is 12 minutes into the game. He's getting dove in the face.
This is ridiculous. Phoenix1, there's nothing left in the top lane on their enemy's side now. They have completely moved in and taken over.
Seraph is just getting blasted now. I mean, Zig is showing up big time. Inori working well with him. He is so far back. He's playing with so much respect, and still the dive comes in a mile away. Inori flashing into the base, finishing off Seraph. And that's, at this point, if you're Seraph, you're hitting the team with the question marks. Where are you at, team? Where are you at?
Mark. Everybody dropping them till the game mutes you and you can't ping no more. But that is just a rough situation. And we were talking before this game, oh, it's carry top laners. This is Seraph's time.
Yeah.
This is where he does his best work. And I think Inori might have been looking at it the same way, saying, you know what? This isn't Zig's style. Let's make this work for him. And he's done it.
Zig has played the matchup very well, you know, and Inori helping him out. Inori deserves, I think, a lot of the credit here, you know, getting the double kill at the start, always being in position to counter gank. But Zig has gotten a lead and has done well with it. He has not made anything too risky happen. He has not thrown it away, not gotten caught by any of the ganks. You know, you talked about Lyra constantly going topside. Zig never got caught by any of those ganks. He was able to escape them all, and I think he deserves a lot of the credit here.
Looks like Kennen is actually working on a Gunblade as his first item this time around. A little bit unusual, not normally what you see coming out first and foremost on the on-hit Kennen, but considering he's still juggling pieces around, look at the guys who have been bringing the pain to him so far. Titanic Hydra, done. Black Cleaver plus Hex Drinker, done. This is so frightening. Seraph gonna be finding Zig. Lyra's right there with him, and Nori nowhere nearby. That's what they need.
Well, that is exactly what they need, but same time, other side of the map, a play being made by Ryu. Is he going to go for Apollo? Looks like he wants it, has his flash.
Hakuo is already down, but Apollo gets the escape, utilizing that flash. Ryu not quite able to close the distance with the Ghost, doesn't want to flash in just in case somebody else was going to be waiting. So they walk away with that one. Another 1-for-1 trade globally still leaves Phoenix1 with a 4K advantage, and they've got their AD carry and their support both pressuring now onto this bottom side tier 1.
Yeah, exactly. And critically, ooh.
Ryu with a nice flash getting himself away, but Curtain Call is going to be opened up. 1 shot lands, 2. 3's not going to find it. 4 does connect. Sonic Wave not making its way there, though. Ryu getting himself away as the bottom lane tier 1 falls. It's going to be number 3 for Phoenix1. Top side.
Oh, Zig was TPing in, did decide to cancel that. It was a pretty optimistic TP.
Yeah.
He was pretty far up in the river. I think he thought Envy was going to be sieging there, but it ends up being a waste, and Seraph will have that advantage now, but Envy's just not in position to actually contest the Dragon.
It's going to be Drake number 2 going the way of Phoenix1, and it's just like game number 1, Azale, Infernal and Mountain. Those nice value Drakes.
Yeah, those ones are really good to pick up here for Phoenix1, and the fact of the matter is, even though it was a great kill to kind of stop Zig from bullying Seraph so hard in the top side, they lost the kill and the turret and summoners on the bot side. You know, Zig gets executed, takes it like a man, has his flash still up, you know, he goes down, accepts his death, but is going to be able to go right back up and still be massively ahead of Seraph. Well, Envy is not going to be able to kind of get that turret back. You don't get to respawn that turret. You lose that kill for good.
There's no res for the turrets. There's no black and white screen and then the turret comes back to life and just keeps playing the game. It's not the way League of Legends is wired, but at least the Gunblade is done into Seraph, so he's still going to have trouble with Zig, obviously, but it's a little bit closer than it was before, if nothing else. Still down almost 40 CS in that matchup, though. Enchanted Crystal Arrow and Shock Blast both going to be missing. Enchanted Inner Flame does find its mark as Hakuo shows up to defend that remaining tier 1 on the side of Team Envy.
And it's a critical dodge there from Ninja. If he gets hit there, I think he goes down for sure. But now Ryu is going to be moving into the side lanes, and they have such a good 1-3-1 right now. No one can answer Ryu or Zig in a 1v1, I don't think. So this is really problematic for Envy, and it creates a lot of issues with their lane assignments. You know, who do you send to match up against the Jace? Who do you send to match up against this Ryze? And if you get the wrong match, if you get a mismatch, you can definitely get taken out.
Speaking of getting taken out, I've got my eye on Ninja too as we work further and further towards this mid game, because we saw Phoenix1 in the last game put so much focus on catching him out and punishing him whenever they could, and that was on a champion that had a built-in escape mechanism.
Yeah, definitely. He was playing that Corki last time, and he did pretty well, but he did definitely get caught out a few times by Inori and Ryu, and they were very proactive looking for those picks, and Inori has kind of sat back and farmed it out for the last little bit. Is definitely a massive CS lead. He has the kill lead. He is going to be huge. Already having 2 major items completed means that even just this guy can duel it out against pretty much everyone, especially with the challenging smite. Like, he's going a very aggressive build, and he is very ahead. Even levels up on both the solo laners from his opponents.
Phoenix1 has just so many threats right now that EnVy's just buying time, hoping that they can avoid these conflicts. And Apollo's going to be the one doing that there in mid lane as Inori and Zig, again, pushing themselves up into enemy territory. Ryu looking to get away with that Realm Warp. A nice escape from what was going to be the collapse by Lyra, who's now trying to clear away some of these control wards. Eats a little bit of damage for his trouble, but at least he gets the mark.
And the Lee Sin has been spotted out on the bot side, so that means they're going to lose the blue buff, and they can try to push in mid lane, in the top lane as well. This mid lane turret getting very low gets riskier and riskier to defend it every time because the dives can come in. Arrow has his ultimate available. Will he look? I think he's going to go for it.
Looking to find it if he can. Inori goes for the moves and just completely deletes Apollo. No arrow required. Blue turret destroyed there in the mid lane. 4-0 in that count. Inori still looking to make more happen. That Titanic Hydra proc. Double kill for the jungler from Phoenix1. Lyra running away as Phoenix1 decides, you know what? One's not enough, Azael. Let's go for two. Let's push towards the tier 2 in mid lane. Only going to be forced to back away now that Seraph has showed up. Ryu's now in the bottom lane. It just never stops. It's one after the other, after the other, after the other. And Ryu is now leading the charge.
Yeah, Phoenix1 is just looking so good. They're just moving around the map much better than EnVy. They're extending their lead. This is how you push an advantage, and this is something that EnVy failed to do last game, and EnVy are really up against it.
Ninja tries to go for the burst onto Ryu there, but Arrow's just like, no, we're going to take down this turret, and then we've got the 3 versus 2. Lyra's able to find the pick, though. Ryu trying to grab Ninja if he can, flashes away from the shots, a little bit more burst, one more hit, won't be there. Ninja keeps himself alive with some fancy moves, has to flash away from it to stay there, but at least they grab 2 kills for the troubles of losing those turrets.
Yeah, and they needed to do that. They need to be proactive and try to make some plays because they're just bleeding gold at this point. And here it is once again. Look at Inori and how much damage gets done to Apollo. Just deleted with the Titanic Hydra. 3 hits from Wrath of the Queen, and you can see Hakuo now. He's going to get chased down. Knows he does not have that flash available. Gets popped up, taken out really quick.
So much damage. 6-0 and 2 on Inori's Rek'Sai. 100% kill participation.
Good kick in.
Going to be caught out, though. Trying to make it a 1-for-1 if he can. One more shot blast might be able to do it. He's not going to, though. Unstoppable, but Lyra now having to run away from Inori, who's looking to grab both these guys if he can. Jumps up from his burrow, not going to be finding anything just yet. Needs one more hit. Enchanted Crystal Arrow, not going to be finding anyone, but it's enough to make Lyra double back. Inori's still on the hunt, going to be stunned up if he's not careful. Prey Seeker finds its way only onto Seraph. Oh. Lyra gets away.
Very close. Lyra, to his credit, he's been making some plays, right? He's 5-1-1.
He's 100% kill participation, too.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot for the team, but things have been looking pretty ugly everywhere he isn't. And they get the kill on Zig again. Zig has not been able to really convert his lead into much more of that because of all the attention, but still he is at least still up in farm. He's up a level. He's still going to be very powerful in the split push, and even with Lyra there, he almost killed Seraph in the 1v2.
40.4 to 33.3 thousand gold, though. Phoenix1 with a 7K advantage at 21 minutes is an absolutely massive mountain to have to climb up if you're Team EnVy.
I mean, 6 turrets to 0. That basically tells the story, right? They have had complete control of this game from pretty much start to finish ever since that double kill in the top side, and they're just closing in on all angles. They're taking all the dragons. They're getting everything that they can get. The next step really is going to be either trying to crack the base or setting up for the Baron, and I think that the next play will probably be them just trying to get ready to start getting Baron, get the vision down, and get ready to take it out.
This is the 3rd Drake this game, going to be going the way of Phoenix1. The 3rd Drake this game that also went that way, no contest. EnVy just hasn't even found their footing to the point where they can go towards that midpoint of the map.
Exactly. I mean, just track the wards on the bottom side of the map. There's red wards from P1 all the way across. There's no vision whatsoever around that dragon. EnVy knows one bad team fight means Baron for their opponents. They can't afford to walk out and try to contest that. But it also means there's no vision whatsoever around Baron either. And P1 has just kind of realized that. They've dropped their pinks. They just swept out the entire pit. And they really can rush down that Baron pretty quickly if EnVy's not in position. And Seraph has no TP, Zig has his, they could go straight for it.
They're going for it right now. TP going to be used. Zig making his way in here, and with the high damage with this team, There's just no way. No way they're going to be here to stop it in time. EnVy yields that one with about as much resistance as they've had for the Dragons the entire time. And Phoenix1, man, 9,000 gold lead, 23 minutes in. Baron buff on 5 members. The world is their oyster.
Phoenix1 is just outclassing their opponents. They really do look like they're another tier above EnVy, who is just kind of struggling to hang on at this point. Down nearly 10,000 gold at 23 minutes, facing the Baron buff when you were already barely kind of holding on. Who can even answer Inori in the side lane? This is going to be brutal.
Inori is so strong right now, and this is what a lot of people were saying about Phoenix1 from week 1. This looks like a playoff team in this game. They are demonstrating why. Ninja trying to defend, bringing the ball back to himself for the shield. Lyra and everybody else from EnVy going to be forced back. Hakuo too low to do anything. Inhibitor number 1 falls not even 1 minute after Baron is secured. Phoenix1 is looking to lock this one down before 30.
They definitely are, and I think they can do it here. On the next wave, they're going to push in for topside. Inori is shoving in, buffing up these Baron minions in the mid lane, and he's also threatening to dive at the same time. If you move too far forward as EnVy, Inori can come in from behind, can take you out. So they're closing in on all sides. Look at Hakuo, very low already.
Accelerated Shock Blast did that.
Yeah.
That was one ability from Jin. Well, technically 2 abilities because you have to place the gate for the blast, right? But still, one singular instance of damage blows away half his health bar, and Hakuo is just not having a fun time. The itemization, though, at least the Infinity Edge and Ghost Blade done for Apollo. He's got that up, so if the curtain call opens up at a good angle, he might be able to defend, but it's a snowball's chance.
Yeah, exactly. And Arrow has his ultimate available, which you can use to answer the Jin ulti. Knock that out, but Ninja gets caught.
Ninja gonna be caught out. The damage comes down to CC in there, trying to get away. Seraph's got the counterattack. CC in a massive ring, but where's the damage? P1 going back in. Seraph's gonna be bursted low. Curtain call for defense. It's 1 for 1, mid lane for mid lane, but the problem is Phoenix1 is still knocking at the door. They've busted the damn thing down. They've got inhibitor number 2, and the base for Team EnVy is not a base any longer.
It's in shambles, and EnVy, that was about as good of a fight as they were going to get. Ninja nailed the shockwave. Sarah flies in with his ultimate, but this is not AP Kennen.
No.
That ultimate is not doing big damage, and they only get 1 kill. It's a trade of kills, but they lose the inhibitor. They lose the inhibitor turret, and Inori is hunting.
Inori finding Seraph. Look at how fast he bursts him down. Azale on-hit Kennen is supposed to be a massive split push threat, and the jungler just walked up, bopped him like a minion, and said, thanks for the money.
Yeah.
He's on his way.
Not much of a split push threat when you're 4,000 gold down the other jungler.
Yeah, this has gone from bad to worse to what do we do?
Yeah,
for Team
I mean, Inori bought a friggin' frozen mallet on Rek'Sai. Like,
he can.
Yeah, he can do whatever he wants. He's so strong, and Inori,
He could buy a death cap if he wanted to.
he could.
Big brace.
We saw it yesterday from Hanser on Nautilus. He recalled, bought that death cap, but
it's all about making a statement sometimes.
Yeah.
And the statement being made by Phoenix1 right now is that a 10,000 gold lead 26 minutes into the game is often pretty indicative of a win.
yeah. This one, it's all over but the crying, you gotta think, because as this one's looking rough, and they're gonna just zone them off, go in, and Nori in the back line.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow finding its way onto Hakuo. Ninja gonna be killed instantly as well. Ryu with a nice Sonya's Hourglass, keeping himself alive. Lyra knocked up into the air. Seraph gonna be done the same. Lyra finding the kill onto Ryu, but it's a 4 for 1. Apollo heads for the fountain as EnVy heads for another winless series. Inori sitting in front of that gun saying, go ahead, pull the trigger. What are you gonna do? Kaboom! No even indication of pain as the Nexus falls and Phoenix1 finds their 2-0 victory.
9-0-4 for Inori.
What a monster.
I'll give you 2 guesses who gets player of the game this time.
I don't even need 2, Azale. I don't even need 2. The man was absolutely phenomenal this time around. He helped his top laner get off to an amazing start. You saw him solo the enemy top laner there by the end of the game. He was just always making plays.
I mean, he was dominating. He was crushing everyone. This guy was everywhere, leading in farm, making the ganks happen, taking every objective. Inori was just an absolute monster in this second game and really carried his team through. Highest level in the game, 2 levels higher than anyone on the opposing team. and higher level than both his solo laners too from the winning team.
If you guys are wondering, how do I put the team on my back in the jungle? This is the kind of guy to watch. This is the kind of guy that could teach you a thing or two about playing League of Legends. I know he's definitely teaching EnVy that you got to respect what he can do, as EnVy now finds themselves, after 3 different series in the North American LCS in 2017, still without a win.
Still without a win. At least kind of lone bright spot here is Lyra 6-2-2 on the Lee Sin game 2.
Much better game.
You know, definitely looked like he was very proactive. You can see what he's trying to get done, right? And all the lanes were kind of struggling though in this one. And it is very tough as a jungler when you are in that situation. It feels like even when something's working for you, something better is working for your opponent. So it's tough, but you know, they have time to grow, right? We're very early in the season.
Week 2.
And Lyra just arrived from Korea. You know, he may be jet lagged, he may be tired. They haven't really gotten enough practice. So we'll see how they're going to perform later on. But today, very clearly, P1 outclassed their opponents.
And that's kind of what we were talking about, right? We were saying, yeah, Seraph, so much praise for Lyra, really hoping they could do some great stuff with him. But when the guy just arrived 2 days ago, sometimes that is hard. And this Phoenix1 team is looking pretty darn strong.
Yeah, they really are. And right back in the conversation, you know, talking about a team who could end up near the top of the table, right? They barely lost to Dignitas. They're 2-1 now. Had they taken that, they'd be a clean 3-0. And these guys are looking like real contenders this season. You know, they were strong at the end of last year, and they're really bringing that into the start of this season like some teams haven't been able to before.
And we'll have to see if they can continue doing that as the season goes on. Obviously, Team EnVy still looking to step things up, and hopefully with another week of practice, they'll be able to get that improvement they want. They'll be able to step up, and Lyra will be able to carry the game like you saw Inori carrying there in game number 2. For those of you that we didn't state it explicitly for, Inori definitely our player of the game in this second match. I'm not seeing the damage charts explicitly right now, but I'm going to guess he was probably up there in those 2, despite the fact that he had a Ryze and a Jace. He was so scary.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't be surprised if he did the most damage in the game. The Frozen Mallet, pretty hilarious. You know? Yeah. I'm not sure if that's the optimal build path here, but
hey, come on, man. It's synergized with Titanic Hydra. You get all that health, extra damage.
Yeah,
it works.
I mean, it definitely worked, but I also think a Black Cleaver would have been pretty nice there too. But either way, Inori was an absolute monster, was really good in game 1 as well on the Kha'Zix, and this guy definitely walks away deserving.
Well, we're going to have to see exactly what they're planning to do as we go on. We're going to have an interview here momentarily with Phoenix1 to see exactly what they thought about that first match. And let's go there right now. We're going to check in with Freak on stage for more with the Phoenix1 victory.
Thank you very much, Captain Flowers. I'm here with Zig, victorious in the top